Okay, we are now being recorded audio on the stage for today. So, um, my name's Kella Campbell. I'm moderating today. I do not myself have any Rockstar industry experience. I write only from research and hope, and I have some experts today who will hopefully not correct me too badly on awful things I might have done. Um, So let's start with Hunter Snow today. Um, Hunter, as we've just been chatting about, is in the Pacific Northwest in Canada, and she's got some industry experience as well as a good number of rockstar romance novels out. Hunter, would you like to tell us a bit about how you got here?
Sure. So I've worked in the music industry for 20 plus years. And yeah, so I've just been doing that. I've been writing since I was 25, but I just put my first book out in 2023. And I've read a ton of rockstar romances, and it just kind of like I started writing during the pandemic, writing Rock Question Roll, really to have like a realistic story about the music industry, more so. Well, I shouldn't say more so than just about rock stars, but I mean, if you're an author and you write rock star romances, that's amazing. Even if you don't have any industry experience, I think it's really important though to get your book beta read by someone who does, or a musician, or because it's so complicated, the music industry. And if you're writing about the recording process or the songwriting process or going on tour or any of those things, there I mean, there's just a lot to it, so that would just be my advice. I've read a lot of star romances that, it's really tough for me to get as an industry person to get through, right? Because I'm just like, "Well, that's not really how it works." And of course, most people don't know that, but some do, and I don't know, it's just, for me, it's like if you're writing about a medical romance and you're writing about doctors and nurses and you don't have that experience, that's totally fine. But I don't know. I would just suggest to get it beta read by someone who does, just so you're a little more accurate and it comes across a little more real. That's all.
That's excellent advice. Would you like to share a little bit about how or where you've worked in the music industry? Is that something you can share?
I've worked mainly with songwriters. So that's my background. I know a lot about copyright law, like way too much probably when it comes to music. If anyone ever needs any kind of advice on how any of that stuff works, I'd be more than happy to let you know. But yeah, I've been but in my work I dealt with, because I represented songwriters, I dealt with music lawyers, I dealt with music labels, I dealt with music publishers, I dealt with managers, I dealt with artists. So I mean, my role was really unique because I got to deal with everyone in the music industry. So, I've been to the Juno Awards, which is the Canadian version of the Grammys, probably 20 times. So, yeah, it was a really I guess that experience is really, with me writing kind of rock star romances now, it's really, really been helpful.
I believe it. That's a really, really cool angle to have, and probably even more specialized than many people who've worked in other capacities within the industry. So you've obviously got a wealth of knowledge to draw on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
'Cause, like,
for
yeah, if you've worked for a label, you know about releases and marketing and record sales and all of that, but you probably don't know about the other aspects as much. So, yes.
that's why it's awesome to have these conversations. Thank you. Let's move on to Sasha. Sasha, would you like to tell us a little bit about how you got here, how you found your way to Rockstar Romance?
I think I've always been in love with Rockstar. Isn't every woman? Um, and
True.
I started off probably really loving music 12 or 13 and kind of always dreamed about learning to play. I never did. I don't have the attention span for it. Always wish I had that talent, but I went on tour in 2009 with the Allman Brothers Band and as their concert photographer. Um, I was there for a little over a year with them. Graduated the next year from college and went to work. But within about 4 years, I think I wrote my first Rockstar Romance after coming off tour. I was just so moved by it. And Guitar Face series, which is my first series, my first set of books, is loosely based on the Allman Brothers' tragic history. So that kind of got woven into it a little. A lot of the industry knowledge I picked up on the road. So whereas Hunter has more of the copyright side, I don't know hardly any of that, but I know what it's like to be on the road a lot, and what it's like to go from the tour bus to the venue to back to the tour bus, and then everywhere else you end up landing in between. So that's how I became a Rockstar Romance author.
That sounds like a really exciting experience. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Elin,
you.
would you like to jump in and let us know how you came to get here?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a lot like Sasha in that I grew up, just became a huge fan, rock and roll fan, about the age of 12. I actually lived in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, and we had some amazing radio stations. And my parents were pretty cool about letting me go to shows. I don't want to date myself here, but my first concert was Journey Escape Tour.
Excellent.
And yep, saw the Who there, a lot
Aw
of so yep, just
awesome.
yeah, and by the way, Hunter, if you've ever met anybody in Rush, please don't tell me because uh,
Oh,
Rush
I've
is
been to Geddy Lee's house.
okay. I hate you.
No, no, you don't. I have a funny story about that. I can save it for later, but I do have a
Yeah.
funny story about it.
Oh man, Getty is my spirit animal. I was the president of the Getty Lee Crush Club in high school. I was also the only member, but so, uh, after high school, I helped put myself through college by working a lot of shows, a lot of local shows. I did a few tours for some like club level bands. My husband is currently a professional musician. He doesn't make a living from it, but he has been playing in, let's just say, a couple bands with some pretty good following, especially in Europe. So he's, played a lot of big festivals. He's done tours here in the States, played all over Europe, Australia. And so it's just kind of like a hodgepodge. But yeah, I've worked with some really big, actually, I have worked, this has been a while ago when I was in college, but Allman Brothers, when they came through, I was one of their local liaisons. So, Grateful Dead, pretty much you name it. And man, the Allman Brothers were just amazing to work for. They
Aren't they?
really took care. Yeah, they really take care of their people. So I've
They
seen,
really do.
yeah, I think you and I both have seen a lot of the touring aspect, and Hunter has seen, a lot more of the mechanical nuts and bolts, how it gets made, the industry schmoozing and boozing side. So I feel like we've
Oh,
got
oh,
this
I've
really
I've
well
been
covered.
on I've been on tour too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we've really got this whole thing, yep, locked down.
I feel like we've got a lot of experience covered in this group then, so we'll have a really interesting conversation. Some of you mentioned books while we were in there. Feel free to drop those links in the chat. Um, and you feel ready, let's get into it. I'd like to start this conversation with things that we commonly see in Rockstar romance that are not like the real thing. I mean, anything can happen, right? But where's the line between likely, improbable, and impossible? And how far can we suspend disbelief on those things?
I'll start. 4 words. Bathtubs on tour buses. No. And that was 5, but no.
Even
I'm
I
sorry.
know there aren't bathtubs.
There are not bathtubs on. That's it. That's it from me.
All right.
For
That's a
me, I
good
think
one. Yep.
Just
I
jump
think
on
it
in if
has
you've got.
more to do with I think that they don't go through a lot of the sequence of what tour is like. It's like they're always on a tour bus on tour. They're not always on a tour bus on tour. I mean, they're on it to get from point A to point B, but they don't spend their entire tour on a tour bus. And I see that in some books.
Where would you say more of the time is spent that we would expect to see more of?
I mean, they don't play 7 shows a week typically. So there's off time and downtime, and they're usually in hotels. And like the Allman Brothers, during their 40th year, they toured 3 weeks on and were off for 3 weeks. So they crammed a lot into those 3 weeks because they weren't consistently on tour like a lot of bands are. So you went for that 3 weeks from the airport, the flight to the bus to the hotel to the venue, or to on the bus again to the venue, back to the bus, and then back down the road to another hotel. And then hopefully when you had a few days off, you got to explore the city. But you really don't even get to see much of where you're at when you're on tour.
Yeah.
We're
I'd
saying
also
there's.
like. Sorry,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
I was
No,
just
I'm
going to say,
just
so
gonna.
we're seeing too much. Oh, yours.
Sorry. I was just gonna say too, if that just to expand on that point, if you're an indie band, or you're kind of a band that's just starting out, you're not going to be on a tour bus. You're going to be in a
Also very
van,
true. Yes.
right? Tour buses are so expensive.
Very.
And, like, that's not how you start off. You start off in a van with, like, a trailer, and it is not pleasant.
Nope. You don't get showers a lot of times. I know a lot of bands at the club level, they will make deals with hotels to get a room after the show for maybe 2 hours, just so people can get in, get a shower, get out. You don't get to sleep there. You get back in the van and you go to the next place. Well, usually you go to a truck stop or a rest stop, and you'll maybe pull over overnight if you don't have a really long distance to the next show. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of sleeping in parking lots at that level.
Yeah, and you can get day rooms. That's what a lot of bands do. They get day rooms just to shower or whatever. They're not gonna sleep there, but just the day room to shower. But they shower at the venue sometimes too, if the venue has a shower. I mean, it really depends, but yeah, it's like for a band that doesn't have a lot of money, like, no thank you. It is just like, stuck in a van with, like, 5 or 6 guys and the driver, and all they smell, and oh no, like, no, I couldn't do it.
So what I'm hearing is there's a pretty big difference in the touring experience between the mega famous best-selling
Oh yeah.
worldwide band and the smaller band, and we're not seeing enough of that differentiation in romance.
I don't think so. Yeah, because I mean, the Allman Brothers had 3 tour buses for the bands by the time they played 40 years, but they certainly didn't start out there.
The guys in Nickelback each have their own bus.
Yep. Same with
But,
Aerosmith.
but again, they started out in a van going across Canada in the winter. And Canada is a huge country with not very many places to play, right? So you're driving for a couple days to get to your next gig often. and you're not getting paid for that. So yeah, it's touring in Canada especially is it's hard.
For
Yeah.
sure. I imagine that's why we don't always get bands making stops up here because it just adds so much to the tour time.
Good point. Visas too. Some American bands, if you have anything dodgy in your past, Canada will not let you in. And a lot of bands I've worked with have found that out the hard way. Oh, the bassist actually got arrested for marijuana possession 3 years ago, and you didn't let us know that until we're at the border at Buffalo. And now we're
Yeah,
not getting in.
lots of bands get stopped at the border both ways.
Yes,
Um,
correct.
And those
So
visas for Canadians, I don't know about Americans, but for Canadians touring in the States, those visas are so expensive, and you have to get one for every single person who's in that tour bus or van.
Yep.
very good point. So when we have bands random short notice popping across the border or to Europe or Australia, that's a little less realistic.
Oh yeah, that has to be arranged way ahead of time. One of the things that I do, I live here near DC, and I have taken quite a few bands, more the club level, and it's changed now. Now you have to plan this out a lot farther, but the Canadian Embassy is here, and that's often a place where bands, at least used to be able to go when they knew they were going to be crossing the border in maybe 5 to 7 business days. You used to be able to take them to the embassy and they could get their visas arranged there as opposed to waiting to cross. But yeah, there's a lot of paperwork, and I even mentioned that in in my first book. There's a scene where the band, two of the band members are traveling to the venue in a town car, and their tour manager is saying, "Okay, now guys, don't forget, you got to bring your passports by the office and talk to our business manager because you've got this international thing coming up." And you want to take care of everything as far ahead as possible so you don't have any unpleasant surprises at the last minute. Lots of paperwork and rock and roll.
Yes, tons.
That definitely isn't something that we always think about, for sure.
No, I see it. The books, I get it. A lot of books make tour life out almost like it's very freewheeling. Like you're a bunch of pirates, you're traveling around. Yeah, you're always on the bus. But I've seen so many books that people just take off. Like it's the middle of the day, I'm bored, I got nothing to do. We just jump in. Number one, very few. Okay, a lot of other like R&B artists, rap artists. Some of them are known to travel with car trailers, and they've got Bentleys and Lamborghinis and motorcycles, and they can, after the show, they have drivers, they can jet and go places. But your average band, even really big ones, if you need to leave the venue, like say you get to the venue and you have to go somewhere, it's like for an interview, all that has to be arranged. Your tour manager needs to know where the artist is at all times. They are accountable for your safety, your well-being, and to make sure that you're where you're supposed to be. So you can't just jet in the middle of the day and go off and have fun. Sorry. I see that a lot in books, and that is, to me, that's not terribly realistic because, I mean, sure, you could do it, but you're going to get a new one torn out of you by your tour manager when you come back, and they're like, "Where were you?"
That's so funny. I have a scene just like that in my new book. They go to a museum during the day. They're in Denver, and they come back, and like their tour manager is freaking out. Like, yeah, it's true. The tour manager is the most important person on tour.
Yes. Yeah. Books need to mention them more. So, maybe hopefully not jumping ahead, but I do like it when books give a shout out to crew members and tour managers, people who normally get totally overlooked in novels, but they are so crucial. I mean, just
It
seeing,
takes
yeah, it takes a lot.
it takes so many people to put on one show. for
Hundreds.
3 hours with 2 opening acts, if you have 2 opening acts. And it takes, for a 3-hour show, hundreds of people all doing very specific jobs and very specific roles. And it's just amazing that all of these people work together as a village to bring, put on the show. So yeah, they definitely deserve that shout out.
I love that. And in fact, that's a great time to segue into things that we love to see, things that it makes us happy when we're reading Rockstar Romance and we see somebody doing something right. I think giving credit to the crew is a great place to start with that. Are there any other things?
Musical terminology.
Mhm.
That's a big one, like making sure you're using the correct words for parts of instruments, or the different parts of the vocal structure, just all of those things. There's a lot of terminology, and you don't see a lot of it used, I don't think. I haven't seen a lot of it used from people outside of the industry. But I think it's done very well in some books where you just feel like you're at the show.
Definitely something to watch for. Love to see it. Does
Yeah, I think
anyone else
that's
have?
I think that's a really good point. I mean, I really try and well, just because I've been in the industry for so long, it comes second nature to me. So I do, or at least in my Gone Country, the book that's coming out now, like I really try and not be too technical with it, and I try to explain people's roles and what things mean, because otherwise it's just going to go over everyone's head, and I don't want people stopping the book and googling or pressing the word on their iPad or whatever to figure out the definition. So I have to be mindful of that as a writer too.
Okay, so using enough context that the accurate terms make sense to the common reader.
Yes.
All right. It is nice to see things that we love. But how about anything that's real but we don't want to see it? We were talking about bathing accommodations earlier. How much realism do we actually want in our Rockstar Romance? Are there things that we should skip over or make a little nicer than they really are? Anyone got thoughts about that?
Boredom. I think
Boredom.
yeah, like every band has a song about, oh, the grind of the road, on the road again,
Mhm.
another town, another place, another face. Yeah, it's true. For the artist, especially because in my first book, I have a fake, made up quote from the singer saying that basically we're like circus tigers. We're, on traveling around. We're in cages. They're nice cages, but they're cages all the same. And we're shuttled around from place to place. We're let out of our cage to play and do our thing for a little while, and then we're put back in it and we go on to the next place. And that's real, but at the same time, readers I don't think they want to get too mired in that, because it's sort of like, okay, well, you're making this sound like it's not fun at all. And it is. It's just it's a certain mindset you have to have, and I
Yeah,
think your average reader doesn't want to get too mired in that.
and there's so much waiting around, right, for the band. Like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Just like have pages and pages of them just like bored out of, as you said, like bored out of their minds? Like, you can mention that, obviously there's so much waiting, right? Really they just have to, if they don't have press, then they're gonna have a sound check and then the show. And like the rest of their day, usually is theirs. So I don't know. In my book that's coming out August 12th, I have them doing some fun things during the day. So
That
That's
makes
what,
sense. Nobody
yeah.
nobody would want to read pages of, "Well, I'm bored. Are you bored?" "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
bored too."
Now what? That's why so many musicians, touring musicians, can quote like every line from every movie ever made, because that's largely what you're doing. Whether you're on a van or the bus or whatever, you're watching movies.
That makes sense. Makes
Plus,
sense.
it helps you wind down at the end of the show too. That's another thing that I certainly have in my books, is how keyed up you are after a show, and it does take a while to come down. And a lot of times, that's just you do your after show stuff, and your meet and greets. So that's what you do, and then a lot of times the guys just go back on the bus and they sit in the lounge and they watch TV and kind of shoot the breeze and talk about, kind of give a little breakdown of the show. How'd you think we did? Oh, well, that totally bridge, I kind of dropped it on that, but whatever. And it's just sort of a way to get your brain wound down. Because my husband, after a show, he is keyed up for hours.
So a lot of Rockstar Romance really leans into the sort of band party lifestyle. Is that something that
I
is
think it depends on the band, really.
It
I mean,
definitely depends on the band.
it really depends on the band, depends on the dynamic. I mean, you have some in a band that would party and some that wouldn't, and some that didn't at all, some that went crazy with the party. And then, you also have to take into account where they were at various points in their careers. And some of that may have changed as they matured and were in the industry a little longer to, get a little better handle on some of those vices.
Yeah, and unless you're writing, unless your book is set in the 70s or 80s or something, most bands nowadays are not. I'm not saying they're not drinking, but I mean they're not trashing hotel rooms, and that it's
No.
just really not like that anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you all. I know the venues, the big venues that I've been at and worked for. Uh, you see a lot of these books that they talk about the backstage party, and there's just like open orgies and open drugs and everything. No place that I worked would ever let that go on. CBGBs, okay, maybe, I don't know, but Walnut Creek Amphitheater in Raleigh, no, I can assure you there were no backstage orgies taking place. The venue manager would have taken a very dim view of that. Go to the hotel, go on your bus, whatever, but you are not turning my venue into a palace of sin.
That's nice. Speaking of palaces of sin, maybe, does anything make you want to just DNF, throw a book? I mean, not that we would really throw or hurt books or our e-readers, but like, is there anything that you see in Rockstar Romance that just makes you ragey?
That's something,
No?
but I'll
I,
let the
I
others.
think yeah, like all the things we're talking about, I think if there's too much of it and it's just really not realistic at all, it's tough to get through. Um, I know we're all writing fiction, but at the same time, I think you want to make it as realistic as possible. At least I do.
I think just showing a well-rounded view of band life, a little on the road, a little off the road, and just kind of how it affects them. I guess is what I'm looking for in a rock star romance. It's just a well-rounded book about the band and showing the different aspects of their life.
I'll tell you, maybe it's controversial, but the thing I have seen that does kind of make me want to DNF is when a musician, especially someone who's really successful, wants, they're, again, I know it's romance, and they're so in love with the heroine that they, like, oh gosh, I don't want to name names. I don't want to get real specific, but I read a book, an older one, where the hero, the rock star, canceled a show, a major sold out show, because his fiance or wife or whatever it was, I think she had a headache. And I'm sorry, that is not realistic.
No.
Yeah, that is not realistic. I mean, it was a
That's
very
called
bad
a
issue.
lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. People need to realize that you sign a contract with the venue to appear on that night at that time. And if you cancel for any reason, you are in violation of that contract. And anyone who wants to be in a romance with a rock star, you've got, or really any touring musician, you've got to understand he may love you to the moon and back. I sure hope he does, but he also, you've got to know what you're getting yourself in for when you hitch your wagon to somebody who is contractually obligated to play and make music.
Yeah, and not only that, the band, they're employers, right? They employ so many people on their tour. If they don't play, no one gets paid.
Paid. Period. Exactly. Yep. Nodding along so hard, I'm getting whiplash.
Yeah, so that's a big one for sure. Like, obviously, if the singer, I'm gonna just point out the singer, but like if the singer is super sick and like they don't want to cancel shows. They will only cancel shows if they absolutely cannot play.
Exactly. And even then, it's very expensive. Even if it's something beyond their control, it's costly.
Right.
And
And they would
so,
rather reschedule than just cancel, because if not, that's a lot of money.
a lot.
Yeah. And you got to think about ticket sales alone.
Yep.
And they don't want to do that to their fans.
No.
Bands hate canceling shows.
Yep. They don't like to let down their fans for sure. And so I feel like, romances it seems like it's a big, grand, romantic gesture. Oh, honey, I'm sorry you feel bad. I'm going to cancel the show so I can fly home and hold your puke bucket. But sorry.
Real life doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't.
That makes sense. So, does anyone want to share a favorite Easter egg or bit of something real that they've tucked into their books, or just some favorite thing, bit of real knowledge or detail from one of your books that's a favorite for you?
In my books, I do talk, just because I have so much knowledge about it, I do talk about the songwriting process. And I know not everyone who writes Rockstar Romance has done this, so that's fine. You don't have to. But I mean, I do, or I have. Let's say I don't know if I always will. I mean, it depends, what the characters are doing and where they are in their album cycle, or if they write at all. But yeah, songwriting and performing are like two completely different things. So, like it's very rare for like, an artist just to, pick up a guitar or something and then in 5-10 minutes, like write a song and then becomes a hit and all. Like it's just like, I'm not saying that that never happens, but it's like that's rare. It, and my book that's coming out, I talk about, like, they're based in Nashville, and I talk about that a lot too because there are professional songwriters in Nashville, like people who, like a lot of them, like it's their job, it's their 9 to 5 job. They're not artists, they're songwriters and co-writers, and like almost, I mean, the majority of country songs are co-writes. So
Yeah.
that's something that I touch on in my books.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at how many artists actually don't write their own songs. They trust the professionals. A lot
Makes
of artists
sense.
didn't record their own albums either. Again, not going to name names. Poison. But yeah, there are so many albums that they just draft in. Unfortunately, it happens a lot, especially if you're a new band. It's your first time in the studio. We used to call it red light fever. Basically, where you're in the recording studio, the red light comes on, indicating that you're recording now, and all of a sudden it's like, I forgot how to play. It's understandable. It's huge, but you choke up one time too many, and they're like, okay, but you just go to the lounge. We got a guy. We're gonna call him in. We're gonna plug him in, and he'll get it covered. So it's one of rock and roll's dirty little. I'm sure it's all the music industry, but it's one of rock and roll's dirty little secrets that a lot of your favorite albums, your band members actually didn't play on it.
Studio musicians, session players.
Yep, session players. Guys who come in and save your bacon and make a lot of money doing it.
Had no idea.
Yep.
Many of your late 60s, early 70s musicians who became well-known musicians started out as session musicians. A lot of them down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Exactly.
We don't see that very much in Rockstar Romance, for sure.
I was just thinking that might be an untapped market. Somebody who's a...
Well, the Eagles started out as a backup band for Linda Ronstadt.
That's right.
Richard Marx was a session guy, for years before he broke out on his own. It goes on and on. The list is just endless.
Exactly. Kip Winger from Winger, he was a guy brought in to...
That's a whole other side to the industry that we simply don't see in romance writing. I would definitely, if any of you want to address that in a future book, I would be all over reading it.
I don't think I have ever read anybody with a session musician in it, now that I think about it.
I'm trying to think. Nope, it's one of those, just like you don't really read romances about tour managers.
True.
I always mention
they're rock stars.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. I mentioned tour manager a lot in both of my books, so
I do too.
Definitely, And in my first book, Rock Crush and Roll, I have one of the tour managers is a woman.
Excellent.
Yeah, which is rare, but they do exist.
Yep.
Right. Hey, do drop a link to any books you're mentioning. Go ahead and drop links to them in the chat. And if any of our audience has any questions for our panelists today, we'd love to have your questions. You can type those in the chat. You can also, if you see the little hand icon, you can raise your hand and ask to speak if you'd like to come on the stage and ask your question as well.
While we're speaking of Easter eggs, I have to say a lot of scenes in my books are actually taken from real life. I even had that disclaimer at the beginning that a lot of this is taken from scenes I have actually witnessed, been a part of, and a lot of times I have toned it down a little bit because I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff out there. It certainly has gotten better in the past 20 or so years, but like in the 80s, unfortunately, it really could be a free-for-all with bad behavior. Let's just say unwanted behavior advances. If you were female and you were backstage, a lot of times people just assumed you were fair game. Things really have changed a lot now, but we'll just say guys were a lot handsier back then. And I don't miss those days at all. So I've got one scene where my heroine gets kind of grabbed a little bit, and the singer, the guy that she's crushing on, happens to walk in and see that she's extremely uncomfortable. She's gotten herself in a position she did not want to be in, and he does step in. But I have another Easter egg. Well, gosh, I actually have several, but there's a scene in the third book where the hero and heroine are talking, and she's asking him if he's ever had any stalkers. And he said, yeah, there was a girl who followed us around on tour in Europe. And when I got back to my house in California, she was waiting by the pool. And she had a notebook, a sketchbook of the plans of the house that she and I were going to live in. We were going to build and live in together. And she even had everything down to the color of the curtains in the baby's nursery room. That came from a real incident that happened. Again, I won't name the band, but that actually happened to their bassist.
Wow.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Do any of the authors here on the panel, do you ever write about female rock stars?
My main heroine and guitar face is a rock star. She's a lead vocalist and guitar player.
Nice.
Have an
Absolutely
R&B
agree. There aren't
singer.
enough of them. Sorry.
Yeah, that's really fun to write. I was just in my new book. Yeah, I have a female rock star and a male country music star.
Do we
I
think the
love
experience for women as a band member, headliner, is much different than for men?
Yes.
1,000%.
Can I ask which one you enjoy writing more?
I don't know,
I
there's
like writing. I like
Go ahead.
writing both, but yeah, you have to just like, well, my female rock star anyway. I mean, it's just a wholly different experience, right? People are underestimating you. It's just you're not getting the same respect.
No, ma'am. Not in that industry. It's very male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Still?
You have to work twice as hard to be taken half as seriously.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed. But I
One of those
think that
things.
if we're being honest, that extends beyond Rockstar romance industry for sure.
Yes.
I suppose that falls into the category of things that we want to make better in fiction than it is in real life.
Yeah, and I will say something too on behalf of, when I started off, when I was old enough to start going to clubs and, shows on my own, dating guys, I really don't like books that treat groupies, or female fans who might have a sexual interest in the band. I often see books that take kind of a sneering tone with groupies or look down on them or, call them, sluts. And I go out of my way in my book to not have anybody run down groupies, or talk bad about them. They're humans too. They're people too. And I think it's actually a little bit, I hate to use a strong word again, but kind of sexist. Sometimes people writing, I mean, even though it's the bands themselves talking and saying, I just think there could be a real double standard sometimes that everyone needs to be mindful of when they're writing this. That, guys can run around and, be with anybody they want to, but heaven forbid, girls should do that. And I also feel like rock and roll romance, there is nothing wrong with writing a heroine who has also, been with her fair share of people.
Absolutely. Okay. So no questions from the audience then? Like I said, you can type any questions you may have in the chat, which is that little speech bubble on your screen, or you can raise your hand if you want to speak on the stage.
Hunter, I want to hear the Geddy Lee story.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. Just want to give our audience a quick chance if they have any questions for you, and then we'll move on to any true stories you guys might want to share.
Oh, someone's typing.
Yeah. Now everybody stares at the chat. But I think we've covered quite a lot of interesting things here. I do love hearing from, and we've got our question. Deviant Reads asks, have any of you written or thinking of writing one where basically we all know it's mostly always the dude who's in the band, but a female singer?
Yeah, the book that I have coming out is a female rock star, and her band is all male.
Same with Guitar Face. It's a female. Heroine is the lead vocalist and guitar player for her band, and then she's surrounded by males.
So that's in really close quarters, right? Traveling together, living together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very rare to have an all-female band, as you all know. I mean, it happens, but it's not common at all.
Unfortunately, that makes sense given that we were just talking about sexism and the additional obstacles for women. An all-female band would presumably have those obstacles multiplied for them, sadly. Hopefully, future years can do better with that. But I love
In my first book, I write about an all-female band.
Okay, that's Rock Crush and Roll?
Yeah. I mean, that's not like the main, they're not main characters, but it's about a music manager and a male rock star. But she does manage an all-female band as well.
Nice. Would you ever write their story?
Maybe.
Okay, and just drawing your attention to the chat, Deviant Reed says, sweet, I like that. It's always the male falling for normal girl, never the other way around. So it would be cool to see that role reversal. Yes, I absolutely agree. It is very cool when the woman is the rock star, the famous one. And the dude's the ordinary dude. Definitely do like that. Thank you for your question, Deviant Reads. That's awesome. And let's, in that case, move on to any stories you guys want to tell. Just to wrap this up with any true stories you want to tell. Obviously, don't reveal any details that you shouldn't. We know how this goes, but story time?
I'll tell my Geddy Lee story. I mean, I have tons of stories. Some I can tell, some I can't. But the Geddy Lee one's like very tame, very, very tame. Yeah. So this happened in Toronto. Oh, I'm going to say, I'm terrible with years now that I'm old. 2015, I'm going to say. It was their 40th anniversary tour.
Yep.
So I'm in Toronto at the time. They're playing a show that night in Buffalo, New York. So it's like whatever that is, an hour and a half away from Toronto. And it's during the day, and I get a call from their manager, who's a woman, and or one of their managers. They have a team, but she's their day-to-day, right? And she calls me, and she's just like, "Oh my God!" She's like, "Are you still going to see Rush in Buffalo tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was thinking for sure she's going to tell me that like the show's canceled or whatever. I was just like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, thank God." She's just like, "The band is already in Buffalo." She was just like, "But Geddy forgot his wallet in Toronto." She's like, "Can you swing by his house? His wife's home. Can you swing by his house and get his wallet before you go to the show?" And I was like, yeah, sure, like, no problem. It was like a 10-minute drive from where I was at the time. So I go to his house, and it's like obviously like super nice. And so his wife hands me this wallet that is so old, and like it's a leather wallet, but it's just like he's probably had it for like 20 years. It's like almost falling apart. And she's like wrapped an elastic band around it, and I'm just like, I'm not like, as if I'm going to like go through his wallet or steal his money. I don't know. It was just the weirdest thing. And then, so I was going with a friend of mine. So I'm like, we're almost at the border crossing, and I was like, I didn't even think about this. I'm like, what if we get stopped and I have Geddy Lee's wallet? I'm like, how am I going to explain this? And I was so nervous crossing the border. Like, so, like, I felt like I had like cocaine with me or something. Like, I was just like freaking out. I'm like, how am I going to, this is, oh, I should have thought this through. Anyway, long story short, we crossed the border, not a problem. They don't ask anything. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, the Rush show, whatever. So, we pull into the venue, go into the backstage area, and meet her, and give him his wallet, because he was like not coming home after that either. They were going on to Chicago or some other place, right? And he wouldn't have his wallet until like the next day or whatever. It was FedExed or whatnot. So anyway, I give her the wallet, and he comes out, and he was just like, oh my god, thank you so much, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And he was just like, here, and he's just like this huge, like, all of their, like, he gave me one of everything of their merch.
Oh.
Like, I had, yeah, I was like, and I was just like, oh my god, like, it was like crazy. Like, I had like, I don't know, like 12 t-shirts and whatever that they were selling. Like, there was this bag of one of everything on their merch table. So anyway, it was well worth it. But yeah, I had Geddy Lee's wallet. An old wallet with an elastic band around it. So anyway, that's my story about that.
That's an
Yay.
amazing story. Thank you for sharing that.
Sasha, you got a story?
I'm trying to figure out if there's one I can tell.
Exactly, right?
You can
Yeah.
obscure some details if you need to.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll tell this one story. We were playing, or they had played in Raleigh actually, and we had left and gone to a Flying J truck stop after the show. And let's just say there was a little, how do I put this? There were some party favors
Mm.
involved, and I had to help guide a band member around, and get some drinks and some snacks. It was really funny. He ended up picking up a really weird documentary, and that was it. There were a lot of party favors, though.
Yeah, I can see that, especially the Flying J.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's quite a story as well. Thank you.
In fact, I think I know the one you're talking about, and actually the story I decided to tell takes place along pretty much that same stretch of highway.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, this was back, I'm trying to remember exactly which tour. I want to say it was Kiss. I think it was Crazy Nights tour. Went to we were living in Raleigh. My best friend was beautiful blonde. She drove a white Corvette, and my other friend was also blonde, and I was the only brunette. And we rode down in my friend Sandy's Corvette, and that Corvette was not really made for 3 people. So I'm sort of weirdly in between the seats, kind of having to sort of lie back and sort of look out the back windshield to fit. We went down to see Kiss in Charlotte at the Grady Cole Auditorium. And after the show, and I swear, and like no one believes all my stories are like ridiculous, but I swear this is true. After the show, we are leaving Charlotte. We are heading up toward Greensboro, and Kiss was playing Greensboro. Next, we're at a red light. There is a limo next to us. The window rolls down. It's Paul Stanley. And he says, "That is a sweet Corvette." And of course, my friend Sandy is like, "Why, yes, it is." And, "You are Paul Stanley." He's like, "Yes, I am." And he was in the limo with Gene Simmons. So Gene asked my other blonde friend to ride in the car with him. Paul Stanley jumped in the Corvette with us and drove with us to Greensboro. And the whole thing turned out really wholesome. Like, apparently nothing happened with anybody. But he just wanted, so despite me earlier saying, "Oh, guys, never," when you're at that level, they're going to tell their tour manager, like, "Yeah, whatever, we're going to do." So Paul Stanley actually rode up with us, and it was awesome. He like leaned on my legs to talk to Sandy the whole time. It was almost like I wasn't there, but I didn't care. I was sharing a sweet ride with Paul Stanley.
Nice. I've met him a few times. He's super nice.
He is. He's lovely.
Gene, I'm not so sure about, but
And since then, I actually drove Gene a couple of times, just short distances. He's all right. He actually likes it if you don't kiss his behind.
yeah, I don't know what he's like now, but 20 years ago, he certainly had a wandering eye.
Oh yeah. Yes, he
That
did.
is fair. We can all hope people will grow up a little bit with time.
Yeah.
That's quite the story, though. Wow.
They are. But yeah, rock stars are just, they're people too, but some of them, again, in the 70s and the 80s, they were just very spontaneous. They really were like pirates. I would love to see more rock star romances actually written in those times. Because
It would be way more wild for sure.
For sure, yeah, and still realistic, but there was though this some darker elements. I mean, there was a lot of heavy and untrammeled drug use. Nowadays, people, younger musicians, a lot of them don't even go near it, but the ones who do, they get intervention earlier, which is good. I think it's a great thing. We're not seeing as many spectacular flame outs because of it. But it is more of a liability thing. I mean, the music business is really more business now almost than music. And people are seen as more like assets. And they're very protected. But yeah, at the time, the 70s, the 80s, I mean, you could get away with it if you were like a really amazing songwriter.
Yeah, it was way more of a free-for-all.
Yep, big time. But yeah.
Those are some awesome stories. Thank you so much for sharing. I have massive envy of all three of you for your
Oh,
adventures.
we could probably have like an hour just of stories.
Oh yeah.
Like it's-
We can definitely do this again anytime. But those are amazing stories. Since we've been going for, oh my goodness, an hour, I'd like to wrap things up, give each of you a chance to pitch a book, whatever your first book, your favorite book, first in series, an upcoming pre-order, whatever you'd like. Just take a minute and pitch a book for us. Hunter, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, sure. I will pitch my book that's coming out on August 12th. It's called On Country, and it's an enemies to lovers rom-com. I write rom-coms that are kind of music related, and it's about a female rock star and a male country singer, and yeah, they end up going on tour together, and shenanigans ensue. There are a lot of tour pranks. And this, I love tour pranks. It's my favorite. So there are a lot of tour pranks in this novel. Some of them, well, actually, all of them are based on real life experiences.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's available to read and review on NetGalley right now, but it will be in KU and yeah, August 12th.
Exciting. Congratulations on your upcoming release then. Ellen, do you want to pitch a book for us?
Yeah, right now I'll put the link in again for anyone who didn't see it the first time. Oh, whoops. I
That's
did.
me.
You were
I was
looking at
looking
Hunter's book.
yeah,
You've
I
shared
was
Hunter's.
looking at Hunter's book. There you go. Share the love, share the love.
Very nice.
I currently have a series on Amazon. It came out several years ago. I am in the process of rewriting it, and it's going to get new covers. And it's actually I'm changing the tense. It was third person past, which is great, but I always kind of wanted to write in first person present. The one of the books that really influenced me when I was younger, kind of almost got me into the whole angle of the rock and roll romance, was a series called Sooner or Later and Now or Never, and Awaiting Games. I don't know if y'all have heard of those, but it was actually kind of controversial because it came out, and the first book, Sooner or Later, came out in the late 70s. There was a made-for-TV movie. So the book was basically the movie script, and the star was a guy named Rex Smith. I don't know if any of you heard. He was quite the hunk back in the day. But the book was kind of controversial because the main female character was 13.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was 17 going on 18. And they have a dalliance. She lies about her age, makes them think that she's farther on in high school. But yeah, and I always thought I'd like to write something sort of like, inspired by that, but with legal people. Not 13, but ironically, long before the first person present tense trend, this book was written in the late 70s, but it was first person present.
Oh.
And I always thought about I should write that, but I don't know. And so I did it, third person past, what I was comfortable with at the time, and now first person present is huge. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. So I'm enjoying it, but unfortunately, I don't have a fixed release date right now. I have the covers, and I'm still in the process of converting the third book over, but the first two are done, and they're with the print formatter. So fingers crossed, hopefully it will be in the next couple months.
Exciting, but
Nice.
we can read it in third person past now.
You can read it in third person past. If that's your jam, absolutely. I'd be thrilled if you checked it out.
Or wait for a little bit and we'll have it out in first person present.
Yeah, correct.
Sometime soon. Sounds awesome. Thank you. And
thank
Sasha,
you.
do you want to close us out here?
Sure. I have the Guitar Face series. I actually just received news a couple months ago that I'm getting those titles back from my publisher. So I'm gonna change up the formatting. I'm gonna, I guess not fix it, but really work on the prose more because it was my first set of books, my first series. Do a little more universal world building in it, and then I'll re-release and you just work covers and all kinds of stuff. But I'm very excited about getting them back in the world and putting them back on KU.
Excellent. That's exciting. The first book in the series is called
I'm sorry, that's Broken. It's the first book in the Guitar
Broken's
Face
the first
series.
one. That's right. And you can feel free to drop a link in the chat if you want to.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a great series. I've read it. I've loved it. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate my panel speakers. We have been recording audio. Haven't quite figured out how or where we'll make that available, but we will do that. And thank you so much for joining us today. All
Thanks,
right.
Kella.
Yeah.
Have
Thanks,
a great
Kella, for having
afternoon or
us.
evening
Yeah.
or morning. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.